Hey there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. And I've been in the mood to watch some Eddie Murphy movies, to revisit some of the classics. Maybe I'll go into the not so classics of his later years. But to go back and rewatch films like these movies. And we're starting with the first one, 48 Hours, which is a classic. I mean, I know there's a Blu-ray of the first film, but there's no features on it. And then the second film doesn't even have a Blu-ray, which is bullshit, which I'll get to that, because I will review the sequel. But 40 Hours, I mean, why does this have a bare bones Blu-ray? And from what I understand, not that great of a Blu-ray, when it's the film that pretty much most people say started the buddy cop genre. And maybe you could technically have films before it, but not as popular and not into the public mainstream that 48 Hours did. Like, 48 Hours made it a genre on itself. 48 Hours paved the way for Lethal Weapon and all these other movies that come out. At least Lethal Weapon, like, some of those do have, like, there's a pack of Lethal Weapon films where there's interviews about each of the movies. But 40 Hours gets nothing? You could have taught, like, 10 years ago, you could have come out with this on Blu-ray and interviews with Eddie Murphy, Nolte, Sonny Landham when he was with us, James Remar, Walter Hill. I mean, so many people to talk to about this. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous. But 40 Hours is a classic. You have this electric chemistry between the two. Eddie Murphy was so young in this film. He was, working on Saturday Night Live. It was a great choice. Definitely started his career on fire. And was one of the teens of the box office in the 80s, starting with this movie. And his chemistry with Nick Nolte is fantastic. They work off each other like peanut butter and jelly. And apparently the original idea for the film, at one point in the 70s, they wanted Clint Eastwood and Richard Pryor, which that would have been amazing. As much as I love 48 Hours, Clint Eastwood and Richard Pryor, that would have been amazing. But I don't know the whole deal is why they didn't work. One thing I read, I don't know if it's true, but it's like, oh, a black guy is one of the leads. Is that gonna work? I hope that guy got fucking fired and raped with a hot poker. Because he's a fucking idiot. But Eddie Murphy's the convict, Nick Nolte's the cop. Nick Nolte's looking for this cop killer, played by James Remar, who he's with another bad guy, played by Sonny Landham. James Remar, he was in The Warriors. He worked with Walter Hill a lot. Quite a few movies with Walter Hill. But I think what happened was James Remar was going to be in Aliens. This film back here. He was going to play the Hitch role. But he had a problem with drugs. He got fired. And Walter Hill was producing Aliens. And he got pissed about that. So I think he got pissed at James Remar for a long time. Like, you embarrass me. And so then they got Michael Biehn for Hitch, which honestly worked out better. Because I don't mind James Remar. But Michael Biehn I like a lot more. And he played Hitch perfectly. With that said, James Remar does a good job as the villain here. Nasty piece of work. Sonny Landham, may he rest in peace, from Predator, among others. He's good as the villain as well. And Nick Nolte, at one point, is with this other cop, Jonathan Banks, who would be in another Eddie Murphy film, Beverly Hills Cop, a few years later. He gets killed, but Nick Nolte's done. Nick Nolte wants to find these guys. Eddie Murphy used to work with these guys, so they gotta get him out. Other people, you have Brian James, who would also be in the second film. Brian James has been in a lot of other films. May he rest in peace. He was in The Horror Show with Lance Henriksen. Frank McRae as the boss, which he has a blink and you miss it in the second film because they cut his shit out too. Because they cut a lot of shit out another 40 hours, stupidly. But Frank McRae is the boss. He would be the boss in Last Action Hero and National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. And what's always forget watching this film is just how Like, the action is serious and violent, and the humor is so raw and un-PC. Like how Nolte talks to Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy, the stuff he uses, you would never find in an action movie today. I mean, Nolte's using the N-word and calling Eddie Murphy a watermelon head. Uh, Eddie Murphy was in the bar. He uses a word that rhymes with maggots and it has an F in front of it. You wouldn't use that nowadays. You wouldn't do that nowadays. You'd be arrested if you made a film with that dialogue nowadays. But I miss it in the fact that whether you like or hate it, that's how people talk. Whether you think it's right or wrong, that's how people talk. They hide behind bullshit to make them think they're holier than thou when behind the scenes they're the dirtiest motherfuckers out there. But here it's out in the open, and it just makes the scenes a bit more realistic, if that makes sense. It actually gives a bit more realism to the proceedings. And just this is a hilarious film. To this day, I still laugh my ass off. I mean, whether it be Eddie Murphy saying, Roxanne. There's this guy they look for, Luther, David Patrick Kelly, who's in Warriors, Come Out and Play. That guy. And because this is directed by the Warriors director, Walter Hill. And this is definitely one of Walter Hill's best films. I think this is after he did Southern Comfort, which is another good one. Underrated one from Walter Hill. Love Southern Comfort. And they're trying to do David Patrick Kelly's character Luther, and he tries to shoot at Nolte and runs, and Eddie Murphy hits him with the door. Luther! I bet that really hurt when you slammed into it. It looked real painful when you slammed into it. And then Nolte's being the shout Luther, come on, Luke, gotta tell you something, because he's having a ball with his car. I don't know what you're smiling at. Your big move turned out to be shit. And again, this is the dialogue. It's so, in a way, underrated. I mean, how many times you don't have where Eddie Murphy's complaining, come on, I was going to get some pussy. Oh, my ass bleeds for you. I didn't take you out to go on a trim hunt. Like, you would never hear this stuff nowadays. But it's fun dialogue. And again, the chemistry between these are spot on. Eddie Murphy complaining that he wants a dinner, he wants something to eat, or take my ass back to jail. Okay, fine. I'm hungry too. Let's get something to eat. Gives him a fucking candy bar. There's your goddamn dinner. We ain't partners, we ain't brothers, we ain't friends. I'm putting you down, keep you down till Dan's locked up or dead. If you mess this up, you'll be sorry you ever met me. I'm already sorry. And then later on, they switch and one says the other's lines and vice versa. Some good writing, some good underrated writing. Roger Spottiswoode, Walter Hill, Larry Gross, and Steven D'Souza. What my favorite line is when they rouse the bar and Eddie Murphy's like trying to prove that bullshit experience will get through it. He made a bet with Nolte, so he's rousing these rednecks. And he's like, I love doing this. And he takes the guy's money. He's like, where'd you get this from? Tax refund. Bullshit. You're too fucking stupid to have a job. That's my favorite line. You're too fucking stupid to have a job. I just. That's the hard thing with reviewing comedies. I can't do it justice. That Eddie Murphy in his prime, when he was fucking funny. Which seems like such a wild concept. Eddie Murphy being funny. But this time he was the funniest motherfucker. And then Nolte did a great job. If you think about it, after this, Nolte didn't have too many big roles. I mean, he had Cape Fear. There's that film I never saw but got accolades, The Prince of Tides. He had a bit role in films like Tropic Thunder, but this is easily his most well-known role. Nolte. And of course, in that bar, I'm your worst fucking nightmare. I can't say the whole line because that's the N word, but it gives me permission to kick your ass when I fucking feel like it. Hell, he's more intimidating in that scene than he is as the bad guy in Vampire in fucking Brooklyn. He's more intimidating, rousing these rednecks than he is in Vampire in Brooklyn as a fucking vampire. And it's them pretty much going from point A to point B to point Z, trying to find information on these bad guys. They looked at these women who are girlfriends of the characters, and they're coming up, and Eddie's talking. Nolte says something like, "You make more goddamn noise than a busted chainsaw." Just, I love the dialogue in this film. It works so fucking well in this movie. And again, I keep harping on this because it's why this film remains a classic. It's why this film made money and made such a big mark, not only when it came out, but to this day, is because the chemistry between these two is the lightning in a bottle. And even good supporting actors. James Remar and Sonny Landham as the bad guys. Brian James as a cop who works with Eddie. Frank McRae as the boss. Annette O'Toole from Superman 3 and others. She's Nolte's girlfriend that you see from time to time. Jonathan Banks early on, who would later, like I said, be in Beverly Hills Cop. Denise Crosby, Tasha Yar from Star Trek Next Generation. She's one of the girlfriends of the bad guy. And I guess at one time, like the first choice of Richard Pryor, then they thought Gregory Hines, and he wasn't available. With Gregory Hines, he would be in a buddy cop film later on called Running Scared with Billy Crystal. That's a good one. I still put 40 Hours above it, but Running Scared is a good one. Eddie Murphy started a few weeks after Prison Photography began because he was finishing up a season of Saturday Night Live. It's funny, the studio thought the film wasn't funny enough, so Walter Hill and Larry Gross wrote more material tailored to the two actors' personalities. Executives found the footage of the gunfight in the hotel to be too violent and were worried that it would kill the film's humor. They told Walter Hill that he would never work for Paramount again as a result. It shows how fucking stupid Paramount was. This film was critically acclaimed. It was called one of the best films of 1982, deservedly so. It made a shitload of money. James Horner did the score. I thought he did a good job on the score. It's funny, Commando with James Horner, he would do after 48 Hours. And those scores sound a bit too similar. It's almost as James Horner just took his score for this film, put it in Commando. But it's a good score. It fits the film very well. I think James Horner did a nice job of the music. And it's cool to have some of the songs like "The Boys Are Back in Town." Went at a fast pace, never got bored with this film at all. I gotta mention another one of my favorite bits is they find that. Well, before that, two of my favorite bits, or two more. I already mentioned the fight that they get into, where they're beating the shit out of each other, and Eddie hits the Nolte and he falls down. He's like, "You little fucker! Yeah, you pushed me in fucking garbage." I just love that. Like, "You little fucker," and then just Eddie's reaction, "You pushed me in fucking garbage, you ass." It's a very fun fight. But then after that, Eddie tells them that they need to be at this garage and it's not going to open until daytime. And Nolte's like, "What the hell? You could have told me this from the start. I almost got my ass shot off twice." "Well, your cop job is hard." And then Eddie's getting ready to fall asleep in the back seat of the car. And he's like, "Jack, tell me a story." "Fuck you." Oh, that's one of my favorites. Such a funny fucking film. To this day, still funny as hell. And the action scenes are not too shabby either. Um, One of the better ones is when they're in a car and they're chasing this bus. I like the setup of the camera where the camera's right behind our two leads as the car is right by the bus, and you see them in the same shot shooting at the bus, and the bus trying to hit them and bump them off the road. Some really good looking shots. Down and dirty, serious, violent, realistic, I would say. And it ends nicely. They get the bad guys. Can I have my lighter back, Reggie? And then, great song to end the movie. I have no issues with this film. I have no problems with this film. I do like the sequel, which I'll review next. I think it's a little bit underrated. I still would put the first one above it because the sequel, I do have a little bit more issues. It tries to be a bit too similar to the first, and then some other elements because of the shit that Paramount cut out. But this film isn't as bad as people make it out to be. It's still a fun sequel. But 48 Hours, classic, funny, un-PC, raw humor, electric lightning in a bottle chemistry between your two leads. They work off each other perfectly. Uh, Solid villains, good score, brisk pace, a lot of memorable, funny bits. 40 Hours is a fucking classic. It deserves so much better treatment on Blu-ray. It doesn't deserve to be fucking bare bones Paramount. I know you don't do anything for anything with your movies. Bother you get off your fat ass and your fuck face. Stop fucking each other in the dill hole. Stop fucking each other. Take a step back. Fuck your own face. And then when you drink the fucking cum, maybe have some fucking IQ bits in that cum. Maybe a swallow make you fucking smarter and realize that if you make some of these films on Blu-ray, they'll actually sell well and make some money for your munty ass. Paramount, you pair of fucking pricks, you pair of shits. Get the head out of your ass and do something. Fucking idiots. Fucking hate Paramount. Fucking hate them. They're like the worst fucking studio. I will say, they are the worst fucking studio. They really fucking are. My body literally just wanted to lurch out. My rib cage literally wanted to lurch out my fucking mouth while talking about Paramount. So I better stop before I kill myself. Or my body decides to do it for me. So, 40 Hours, classic fucking film. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.